All right, top of page 202, Baba Metzia 107b. Af motzia tekina umachnisa ta'ava. It will destroy jealousy and will bring in love. All that's just from eating breakfast. You won't feel jealous of anybody. You'll have a heart filled with love for everybody. Okay, we'll keep going. Amar le Rava bar Mari. So Rava said to his teacher Rava, the son of Mari, Mina hamilta de amra inchi. Tell me what this, or kind of what this means, or what the origin of this folk saying. Sometimes, in addition to interpreting the Torah, they would interpret folk sayings. So here's one of the folk sayings they would interpret. How they picked which folk sayings were worthy of comment and which weren't, I have no idea. But this one, you'll see, is kind of in the topic we've been discussing. Shitim rihite rahut. 60 people are running. Velo matu legavra de mitzafra krach. And they couldn't overtake the man who ate bread in the morning. So you're a faster runner. 60 people could be chasing this guy, and they won't be able to overcome the guy who ate breakfast in the morning.
Even if they ate bread?
Oh, that's interesting. So did they eat? Yeah, it must be they didn't eat breakfast. Yeah. The Amru Rabbanan, and Rabbi said, similarly, Hashkem ve'echol, wake up and eat. B'kayitz b'bnei hachama, in the summer because of the heat, uva'choref b'bnei hatzina, and in the winter because of the cold. Okay, there's two things. So you run faster, and you'll be protected from the heat and from the cold. So what is that from? Ve'amar le'dichtiv, and they said that folk statement comes from a quote in the Bible, in the Tanakh. The origin of the folk saying is something from the Torah, and now we're going to quote it. Lo yiravu v'lo yitzma'u. If you are not hungry and you're not thirsty. So they're misinterpreting this on purpose. The verse from the Torah is a blessing or a prophecy. There will come a day where you will not be hungry or thirsty. However, they're saying if you are not hungry or thirsty, as opposed to there will come a day where you will not be. In the Hebrew, it can be read either way. It's really the context that tells us what it means. So they're saying, well, for us, it's another advertisement for eating breakfast, because lo yir avu v'lo yitzamu, if you are not hungry or thirsty, lo yakem sharav v'shemesh, the heat of the sun will not smite you, will not hit you.
You mean if you've eaten?
If you've eaten. Yeah, if you're not hungry and you're not thirsty. If you're not hungry and you're not thirsty, the original, just for your own information, the original verse means it's two blessings. You will not be hungry, you will not be thirsty, the sun will not smite you. It's a famous psalm, famous quote. This is misreading it and saying, if you are not hungry and you're not thirsty, in other words, eat your breakfast, both the bread and the water are important for you, then the sun won't bother you so much during the day. Lo yakem sharav hashemesh, kevan, and they're explaining it. The sun will not smite you, kevan, because you won't be hungry or thirsty. So they're saying, don't read this as a prophecy, a prediction, a blessing. Read it as advice, cause and effect advice. Okay, I'm going to go on. Amarle, at amartli mehatam. So he says back to him, okay, you're saying it's from this verse? Va'ana minalach mehacha. I can tell you another verse. I have another verse that proves the same thing. V'yavadatem et Adonai Elohechem. You shall worship God. Uve'rach lach mecha. And you will bless your food. Okay, blessing your food comes after the food, meaning that you've eaten. Okay, the et memecha, you will bless your food and your water. There are separate blessings. There's a famous birkat hamazon. First of all, there's blessings for all food, before you eat and after you eat. So we know the ones that for bread, motzi lechem, and bread, as you can see, is meant to be a part of every meal. So it's very easy to learn that one blessing, and then you say the entire birkat hamazon, all 50 pages of it. Sometimes it seems that way. It's a long blessing, but you say the entire birkat hamazon if you've eaten bread. If you haven't eaten bread, if your only meal was blueberries, there's another blessing you say before you eat them, and another blessing you say after, much shorter. Anyway, the origin for saying blessings before you eat and after you eat is from the Torah, in fact from this verse, but this is using the verse for other purposes, in other words, again, to encourage us to eat breakfast. You will worship God. Zo kriyat shema tefillah. So worshiping God, they're saying here, is referring specifically to the Shema and the Amidah, just that. Which was that's the skeleton of every service. The most important prayers of every service are the Shema and the Amidah. Every service contains the Shema and the Amidah. Uverach et lachmecha ve'et mimecha, and you will bless your bread and your water. Zo pat melech v'kiton shamayim. That's the typical breakfast. So that's bread and water, and a jug of water. And what they're implying is you do one or the other. So and this is a classic Jewish thing. You get up in the morning and you daven. Now saying the Shema and the Amidah doesn't take very long. It's 2 quick prayers, 5 minutes at the most, and then you eat breakfast. But you're not supposed to eat breakfast until you say those 2 prayers. And then you eat breakfast, and then you say your blessings after. Okay, mikan va'elach. And if you do that, and this is all in the same verse, v'hasiroti machala mikirbecha. In that case, I will remove illness from you. Okay, here's how they're misreading the verse. The verse once again is, I'm telling you some great things that are going to happen to you. You're gonna serve God. You're going to thank God for the food, and I'm going to remove illness from you. The rabbis are reading it here now as a cause and effect. If you get up in the morning and daven, and then you eat breakfast, and then you say your blessing afterwards, then I will remove illness from you. And they're saying it's in the Bible, but it also has a biological effect. Eating breakfast is the thing itself that will remove illness from you. At least that machala, the illness that is systemic, that affects the entire body. Okay. We are done with that stuff. Actually, if you remember, this has been pages of analyzing what these different blessings mean, and now, which led us into what causes illness, which led us into the benefits of breakfast. We are now going back to complicated real estate laws, which is where we started, with almost no transition at all. So I'm going to just read, because it's going to stop for a second, so I'm going to read just so I can say we've done it, page 203, introduce the next topic, then I'll take questions.
Can I just?
Oh, sure.
I just want to ask the last
So I'll take questions, but
with the blessing.
Okay.
When did that become codified? That people said prayers to Christians, as far as we know.
Oh, so when people say we don't really, it's very complicated. It's very hard to say.
Make it sound like it's.
Yeah. See, already in biblical times, you had sacrifices that occurred several times a day. And they were also depending on which holiday it was, different types of sacrifices. So what was codified already in the Bible, let's say 600 BCE. It's hard to date that. Is a regular regime a systemic regime of sacrifices, animal sacrifices, and at some point those animal sacrifices become prayers. When the temple's destroyed, because you can't sacrifice animals anymore. And there was probably a transition time, even before the temple was destroyed, where people that couldn't make it to the temple to offer sacrifices would say prayers instead. In other words, so saying prayers regularly is a very ancient custom. Probably happened already during temple times. So thousands of years ago. And then the rabbis then later developed it, and then the prayer book is developed. So the prayer book as we have it right now, has prayers in it that are fairly recent. But the idea that you say these 3 prayers and it's these particular prayers is very ancient. Remember, the Amidah already is we can tell it predates 70 because it mentions the temple, and the Shema is already in the Bible. Okay, let me just read the page 203. Amar le Rav Yehuda le Rav Ada Mashocha. So Rav Yehuda says to Rav Ada. Rav Ada is a surveyor of land. So he's an employee of the government who goes around and makes sure everybody is following the proper real estate laws. And he also designates what's public property, what's not, and what you can do with your property. How does he know how to do that? He gets trained. So he gets trained by the rabbis. And so he's following basically rabbinic law. Although he almost certainly would have been an employee ultimately of the Babylonians. It's taking place in Babylonia, and the Babylonian government allowing self-rule of the Jewish community. And they probably had to throw in their rules too. But he is getting trained. What we're seeing here is he's getting trained in surveying techniques. Not just surveying, but it's really in enforcing real estate laws. Okay, so Rav Yehuda is telling him something, and then I'm going to tell you what he says, and then we'll stop. Lo tizazel. Don't treat your surveying lightly. So first of all, it's a general principle. This is really important stuff. The real estate's important for people. De kol porta or porta, for every tiny bit of land, chazi lekorka marishka, it's possible to grow crocuses. Crocuses were a kind of flower. What he's basically saying is that every tiny portion of land has some value. So the job you're going into is very important for people. How you designate boundaries, how you tell them what they can do with their land. So just because somebody has a tiny, tiny portion of land, take your job seriously, because every portion of land could be very, very important for the landowner. And then he's going to give him some other rules that we'll be privy to, but we won't read those for another month or so.